following issue is about education. You know I love education, and I'm going to get into it right now. Let me share with you. All right? On the march. Here we go. On the march. We sharing? Yeah, you got it. Okay. Here we go. On the march. This is from Real Clear Investigations. Now, as I said in my discussion of the Zuckerberg issue, how it's tied to the universities. And of course, the universities, in order to go to university, you need to go to primary school, okay, K to 12, and elementary and junior high or middle school, whatever you call it, and high school, right? And then it's a standard path at least. And there's a huge shift in how we're seeing education. COVID, which was just a devastating effect on education, has now complete. It's like the seasons, right? It died, and now we're getting rebirth, spring, and you're going to see. You are seeing an explosion in homeschooling, in alternative colleges, new schools, liberal schools, classical schools, and now this issue of school choice is just monumental. We spoke about this during the election. We had one of these teachers from Harris campaign event saying that, social justice, that's why she got into teaching. And you see the whole side of the progressive liberal. It's about forming these kids' brains to become basically little Marxists that can contribute, instead of seeing education as something that helps the individual blossom into their individual gifts and entrepreneurial spirit, and it can be an entrepreneurial spirit in the terms of athletics. It could be in terms of academics. It can be in terms of a true entrepreneurial exploration and opening the pizza place down the street. But whatever it is, you're educating the individual to think, to love goodness and truth and beauty, education for education's sake, to love knowledge and learning, and give them the tools how to learn and how to express themselves. And, I was having a discussion the other day, just yesterday, with somebody about, I've shared publicly that my wife is undergoing cancer treatment, and he was saying about how this gentleman commented to me that, how hard it is on the family. And he made this interesting comment, and he said, and you realize how much harder it is sometimes for people who aren't educated. And I read, what do you mean? And he said, because, we don't realize when you are educated, when you have the benefit of being educated well, first by good parents that celebrate marriage in a positive way and raise you to be, have values, and you go to a decent school, and you, more importantly, as a young adult, you begin to understand the value of reading and how important it is to expand your intellectual and academic boundaries, that you learn how to express yourself and you learn how to control your emotions better. And so his point was that it's so hard when you go through a trial. A family goes through a tough period that has a little bit of added stress or a lot of added stress, that the pressure on the marriage and the family structure when they can't express themselves properly it's a really interesting point. It's a really interesting point, because as divorce rates have exploded, the education went down, and our church attendance went down, our relationship with God went down, our education, quality of our education went down, and marriages split up. And this little nonchalant connection that he made, I think, was really insightful. That we take for granted the ability to articulate. I don't do it so well sometimes, but our ability to speak and to share and to talk. That even if we think we're not articulate, we're much more articulate than we can imagine if we didn't have an education. And we are really denying many people the ability to critical think. You say, well, they're still going to school. Yeah, but you have to learn how to critically think. Because if you can't you can't be critical of yourself. You can't be critical in a constructive way with the person you're in the argument with, the spouse. You can't, and if you don't have the anchor of that, divorce isn't an option, well, then you'll just take that option. So all this stuff works together. Or if you don't go to church on Sunday, well, that going to church is a major, I've had many times where my wife and I have been bickering or not getting, and you go to church and you look over and she's kneeling and you're kneeling and it's over because he's bigger than us, because our marriage is in him, the Lord. And we are blessed. And you let it go and you reboot and you start over. You restart the computer. You restart the marriage. You begin again. You walk out of Sunday church. You walk out of a Resurrection Sunday and you begin again. All this stuff matters. Freedom of speech, education, religion, democracy, the ability to make mistakes, the ability to have to pay for those mistakes, because that's what makes the mistake valuable, when you have to pay the price. Okay? And all that gives us empathy for others. All right, here we go. On the march, school choice takes its fight from red right to blue. This is by Vince Bielski, Real Clear Investigations, January 2nd, 2025. Private school choice advocates expect that 2025 will be the year that they finally bring the last big red state, Texas, into the fold. The likely victory would in turn pose the next big challenge for the controversial movement. Can it win an enemy territory that is blue states too? So the school choice movement, this basically, to sum it up, is that you should be able to spend your tax dollar to go to a private school or a Christian school, whatever, the Catholic school, whatever the school is. That's not the public school choice, not the local school district, because you may not like the quality of their education. You may not like what they're teaching. You may not like the morals and ethics that they're pushing at that school. And, it actually puts pressure on the public school to do it. It's competition. If the public school's fantastic and doing all those things then you're going to go there and they'll get the money. If not, you take that allotment. And this is, there's different ways I'm oversimplifying, but you take, instead of paying $8,000 to the public school, even though you don't go there because you pay for the private school, you take the $8,000 that was going to go to the public school and you spend it on the private school. You know what would happen to private school enrollments? Right through the roof. And you know what will happen with the public schools? They'll have to compete. It's like the U.S. Postal Service. It has to get better, or UPS or FedEx are going to drive it into the ground. So you need competition, good competition. In the picture here, we see Randy Weingarten. We did a whole piece on her. See how everything's connected? We did a story on her, how she thinks that they have to return. And meanwhile, the administrative aspects of public schools are expanding rapidly, and the number of teachers and students aren't. So the bureaucracy, administrators are part of the bureaucracy, by definition, is expanding and growing and becoming grotesque. It is grotesque when teachers teach. Okay? The vice principal doesn't teach. The principal doesn't teach. I'm not saying they're not important. The director of curriculum doesn't teach. These things are important to a degree, but when they become the emphasis and they're growing faster than the number of teachers in the building, when we all know that at the end of the day, class size is the most important aspect of success. That there's others, but if you had to boil it down, the smaller the class, the closer you get to one-on-one, which is tutoring, which is the most effective way to do anything. Personal trainer. You get a personal trainer. You want your kid to do better in biology? Well, they go to biology class during the day and they get a tutor at night, one-on-one. Class size matters. Smaller the class, better the students do, statistically. Of course, there's exceptions. If you have a bloated bureaucracy of people who don't teach, that's where the money goes, well, then obviously you're not going in the right direction. The teachers union is a disaster. It's been a disaster for a long time. They're just an extension of the Democratic Progressive Party, and that's where we are. Private school choice advocates expect that 2025 will be the year that they finally bring in Texas. So Texas is the last holdout. And after that, will they be able to go to blue states? Inspired by free market ideology and Christian faith. There it is. Free market ideology. Competition. If the public schools are so great, people will choose to go there anyway, and nothing will change. In theory, right? If you said to everybody, hey, you can go spend your school tax dollar any way you want, if your schools are so great, Randy Weingarten, won't the people just pick to go there and nothing will change? But it's not what's going to happen because they know they're not good schools. Advocates aim to give families more educational choices, providing them with public funds that they mostly use for private instruction at religious schools. See, like I pay for, we send our child to religious school. By providing them with public funds that they mostly use for private education at religious schools. Although the movement now has a foothold in almost all red states, to become an influential force in education, it needs to make deeper inroads into densely populated blue states where Democrats, teachers' unions, and rural Republicans have built a formidable wall of opposition to protect public schools. Once we finish with the low-hanging fruit, Texas and a few other red states, this movement will go to a blue state strategy, said Robert Enlow, CEO of the national advocacy group EdChoice. It has to figure something out, let's be honest. The political battles over school choice have been fierce, with critics such as the American Federation of Teachers president, Randy Weingarten, claiming that programs will defund public schools. That, again, listen to what I'm saying. When I say listen, I know you understand, but we need to reiterate this, and then in our discussions with people at family parties or weddings, we have to have the intellectual ammunition to combat these stupid statements. These programs will defund public schools. They will not defund public schools if the public school is the choice. They're not saying no more public schools. Choice, school choice. If Randy Weingarten and the rest of the public school people produce good schools, the money won't leave the schools. In fact, more money could go there because not only do they get the tax dollar, but say somebody's sending their kid to Catholic school, they're not going to take the additional tuition that they would have spent on Catholic school, but they will spend their time and energy and maybe donate or maybe propose to do fundraising for that public. It actually could increase, but it's only a threat if the public school is not the one they choose. That's the honest answer. Defund public schools. No. In fact, all we've done is public schools, give them more money, which resulted in more administrative positions. We resulted in worse results in terms of tests, which I'm going to talk to you about in 1 second. In November, where voters killed a new program in November, in Nebraska, where voters killed a new program in November, an attack ad from choice opponents depicted supporters dressed in suits storming into public school classroom and intimidating children, drawing protests from state senators who called it ridiculous and insulting. An attack ad, right? The students dressed in, that's kind of silly, okay? All right, so I'm not going to go deeper into this. This is a long article, okay? But we need to know that this is happening, okay? Texas is the last couple of states, including Texas, last red state to go into the choice. Trump is for choice. All right. I think the takeaway right here is this Randy Weingarten quote. This sticks out to me. I'm going to say it again. It's important. The political battles over school choice have been fierce, with critics such as American Federation of Teachers president, that's the union, Randy Weingarten, claiming that programs will defund public schools. I've said it 3 times. I'm going to say it a 4th. That's not cogent. It's a categorical mistake. Nobody's defunding anything. People want the choice to spend their money how they choose to educate their children. If the public schools, like a free market model, are competitive and better choice, that money will go right back to the public school. It will never leave it, in a sense. Your child's there, you choose to keep them there. Nothing to worry about. Defunding means like there's some kind of implication that a law is passed saying that they're not going to get that money. No. In theory, you could give the state school choice, and in theory, not $1 could leave the public school if everybody chose. So you know what? Make the public schools better and you won't lose any money. Randy Weingarten. Okay. This brings me to my next one. Here we go, which is connected to this. It's right here. All right. And it's beautiful because it shows you what blue states, red states are working on these things, and blue states are working on this kind of nonsense. New Jersey ends basic reading and writing test requirement for teachers. Think about this, okay? We're talking about school choice, right? They want New Jersey Education Association called the test requirements a barrier for educators. This is by Fox News, Lindsay Cornick, published January 5th, a couple of days ago. And this is from NGEA. This was their announcement. We need you to take action. Last year, New Jersey eliminated the Ed TPA, a barrier to becoming a certified teacher. Now it's time to eliminate another barrier, the basic skills test. Urge Governor Murphy to sign S-1553 right away. All right, here we go. I'm just going to sum this up. Teachers in New Jersey will no longer be required to pass a basic reading, writing, and mathematics test to be eligible for public schools according to a new law. Act 1669, which was signed into law by Governor Phil Murphy, Democrat, in June, went into effect on Wednesday at the start of the new year. The law aims to tackle teacher shortages in the state by removing what the New Jersey Education Association, NGEA, a teachers union, called a barrier to certification in 2023. The law states the School Board of Education shall not require a candidate seeking a certificate of eligibility with advanced standing, a provisional certificate, or a standard instructional certificate to complete a Consumer of Education approved test of basic reading, writing, and mathematical skills, including but not limited to the Praxis Core academic skills. If you're a teacher, you're familiar with the Praxis test. In order to obtain a certificate of eligibility, a certificate of eligibility with advanced standing, a provisional certificate, or a certificate, educational certificate. Okay, institutional certificate. Sorry, that's a long-winded. I need to read all that. In other words, to get certified, you don't have to take the basic skills test. Right? New Jersey eliminated that barrier. It's time to eliminate another barrier, the basic skills test. What do you think? Do you think, listen, I'm all for people that have other knowledge to go into classrooms, that have life experience. But do you think the answer, this is the answer, they can't get teachers. All they do is keep giving. They want to give teachers more money and better benefits. And listen, I know many teachers. Okay? I've been a teacher. My wife's a teacher. So I'm pro teacher. Okay. I'm pro everybody. I shouldn't even say I'm pro teacher, like I'm against other people. I'm just about every honorable job in the world. I'm pro. All right. Teaching is an honorable profession. Very important. And it's hard, but there are a lot of hard jobs. So is making pizza. All right. So if you're going to an attorney, do you want him to have a law degree? If you're going to, we do have to have some standards though, right? I mean, I think, saying that you need a teaching degree, maybe not. Or you need to have a master's, no, maybe not. Or maybe you have, but I think basic reading, writing, and math skills, that's probably, so this constant need to water down, grow the administrative side of public schools, talk to public school teachers. All they do is complain about how much paperwork they have to do now, which is to satisfy the bloated administrative staffs because they have to do something. They have to do something to pretend to be needed. So they create paperwork that has to be filled out from these teachers, which is less time. So the classrooms get more crowded. The teachers are spending more time filling out paperwork for the bureaucrats who shouldn't have been hired in the first place. Then the teachers are frustrated. The teachers leave the career. They go to private schools, or they retire, and now you have a teacher shortage, which means that you had two teachers, now you have one, so the class size gets bigger because the one has to take over two rooms, so it's a bigger classroom, more bureaucracy, more administrative. It gets again. The theme of cancer, metastasizing cells over and over again. Every time the Democratic progressive movement is involved in something, that's what you get. You get more unhealth. The degree of unhealthiness increases. Okay. Meanwhile, the free market, uh, Judeo-Christian approach, constitutional conservative approach to this, the libertarian approach to this, the classical school, Greco-Roman, all these nice titles that we can have, is free market, compete with each other, let the best man win, like let the best man win. Let two competitors, let the X and Facebook, let the best social media win. Let them compete. Let the public school compete with the Catholic school or the Christian school or the private academy, whatever it be. Let them compete. And if the best product that the customer, we're the taxpayer, the parent of the children, they will pick.